Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the 153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Water. I'm your host, JP. And when I say welcome back, I'm back from the honeymoon, baby. Woo! What a great honeymoon that was. Had a lot of fun up in Door County, Wisconsin, between kayaking up on Lake Michigan in that area, known as Death's Door, to going snorkeling around a shipwreck, having a great time golfing too, but most of all spending time with my wife, and we just had a blast together up there. So for those who listen and are disappointed in me not having an episode the last time, sorry, I was on my honeymoon, but we're back and we're in full gear, man. All gas, no brake. So let's get right into it. I got a couple announcements to make beforehand. There's, as a first responder, there's an awesome tournament going on starting on September 11th, and it's starting at 9. It starts at 9:08. It's that time the first tower was struck. So it runs from 9:11 to 9:26. It's called the Guns and Hoses National Fishing Tournament, and it is open to everybody. It's from kayak anglers to guys who are on the bank, boat guys, waders, whatever your style of fishing is. It's for bass. There's walleye. There's a saltwater series for trout, redfish. I'm gonna drop the link in the description, and you guys check this out. This is gonna be awesome. There's gonna be great prizes for this. And for those who are first responders, it's a police versus fire. So if you're an angler and you're, one side or the other, hey man, the firemen are going to win this. All right. I know the cops talk a big game, but we always bring the game. So I'll drop the link in there for Behind the Lines Foundation is the guys who are sponsoring it. And they got some other good program sponsors too. Fish USA, KBF's behind it. Fishing Chaos is the platform you're going to be able to find this on. So definitely give this a check out. And then also give us for Paddle and Fin, if you guys are following the trail and competing, coming up is Ohio, the last stop before the championship series and invitational and lacrosse. But we got Ohio coming up this weekend. So if you're fishing it, good luck. And if you're unaware, if you don't know, now you know. So get out to Ohio and get on the water and win some good cash prizes from us. A couple sponsor shout-outs real quick. Waypoint TV, Yak Gadget, 153, Pelican, Rocktown. Now, with any further ado, let's get this rolling. Today, we are talking about how traveling affects, in the positive ways, your mental health. And I have no other than the host of Mindset podcast, one of our newest members to the Paddle and Fin family, Mr. Chris Slywka. Did I say that right?
No.
Oh, God.
It's Chris Slywka.
Slywka.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Don't worry. I have a Polish last name. I get it butchered every time.
Oh, I know how it is, man.
Welcome, Chris, to Off the Water, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Having a great season so far, sitting second in Angler of the Year, and looking forward to the next one, man.
Cool. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'll give one giveaway. You're another Chicago boy here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Chicago guy up in the mix.
So basically, bought myself. Been fishing pretty much my whole life. Started taking it serious about like 8 years ago. Finally got into a kayak this year that I feel I can compete with, and that's being a bona fide RS 117. and went on the paddle and fin trail. The trail stayers first year it's been here, and been really enjoying it. Most importantly, the things I focus on is probably the YouTube and the podcast the most, though.
Cool. So I'm actually going to drop your handle right now in the little slide here so everybody can
Yeah.
see. And this is going to be everything from Instagram to YouTube, and that's where you can find him at, right?
Yeah. Everything
Beautiful.
is Chris Slywka Fishing. I'm really focusing on the YouTube right now, but yeah, I mean, it's all there.
When you're doing your media for your YouTube, what are you using? Are you using GoPros, tack cams?
I'm using GoPros as of right now. I actually
Okay.
got gifted a GoPro Hero 4, and then everything else is on the cell phone.
Oh, cool. And it's crazy because people, it's your cell phone.
Hold
But
on, buddy.
I can't see it.
Go show mommy, buddy. Go show mommy. Yeah, so you're saying, man?
yeah, people underestimate how powerful the cameras are on cell phones nowadays. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of what
definitely.
you're paying for is that technology that's in the camera.
I know these cell phones are costing like $1,000 nowadays, or if not more. So I gotta put it to use somehow, man.
Absolutely. So locally, I know we've probably crossed paths fishing waters before coming onto the podcast. What would you say your strong points of fishing are? Are you a river fisherman, lake guy? What's your style, man?
I mean, as far as like, I would say the technique wise, drop shot is probably my number one confidence. But I'm kind of all over the place. You know, I definitely fish lakes more than I do rivers, and have a ton more experience on a lake, especially around like grassy areas. But I mean, the river, I do fish some rivers too. I fish the Fox River a ton also.
Yeah,
So
Fox could be tricky, man. I've had great days, and I've had days where I'm live on this thing and I and zero out, man.
yeah, I mean
Yep.
the Fox is a tricky place, but there's always fish around. You know, I tend to find them around the bridges a ton, whether it's throwing a football jig or some kind of just something that just won't get snagged up into the rocks.
Yep. Cool. So, so let's talk about your podcast, man. For those who haven't heard, your podcast is Mindset. Go ahead, tell the listeners what your podcast is all about.
Yeah, so basically the podcast came about is, you know, there's a ton of fishing podcasts out there. Obviously, we run 7 days a week with all different segments. There wasn't really a podcast talking about the mental aspect of fishing. You know, there's videos on it. There's certain anglers that talk about it. Nobody actually breaks down. They rather promote a lure or what they were using versus telling people how they overcame some. Like there's been a couple times this year that I've had personally to overcome things, and I've talked about it on the podcast. You know, whether it's travel, whether it's in tournament, or just trying to figure out something new.
Awesome, and that's exactly how I wanted to segue into this, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about this. So, okay, as we know, we can do very local tournaments. We could do online tournaments. I just promoted an online and a tournament that for some people you have to travel for.
Yep.
Now, I personally, for me, and I'm going to put a lot out on the table talking about this right now. So, for those listening, if you are not of the faint of heart, well, then sometimes this isn't the podcast for you. But it's geared and open towards everybody. But I will say this is gonna be a little more intimate than anything else. So, being a first responder, I so 1/3 of my life is spent inside a firehouse. And I'm at pretty busy firehouses. I do float. I have a tendency to float a lot between firehouses because of being a paramedic and multiple paramedics at my firehouse. However, though, that doesn't dispel the area that I'm typically in. I'm over on the west side of Chicago.
The
It's
worst of
the
the worst, man.
yeah, between there
It's
and working sometimes down in Inglewood too. It's where people see the stuff that's on the news, the mass shootings, the violence, the guns. I mean that's all that's everything that I'm doing. Plus, the fire here and there with it too. So when when it comes time for me to and I really had to draw the brakes back a little bit on this. Um, I when I first I was going balls to the wall. I was competing. 2019 was I had a pretty great year. 2020 was COVID. It wasn't so great because a lot of tournaments were canceled, and plus travel restrictions were put on. And fortunately, I had to abide by the rules. Otherwise, I could have gotten in trouble at work. A, a lot of all that stressor came to 2021, where we're at today, and I really had to stop and ask myself, what is my purpose? What am I doing? I'm competing, right? Okay, I'm winning some money here, some money there. Cool, a little bit of recognition gets my name out there. But am I enjoying what I'm doing? And I'm sure everyone out there has asked himself this: am I enjoying what I'm doing? I don't. It's gotten to the point where I'm at work and it's kind of like repeat, right? I know I'm going to have to do certain things at certain parts of the day for certain people and certain runs that I'm on, right? Someone who's overdosed on heroin, I know I'm going to have to give Narcan, keep watching their respirations to make sure they're breathing until they become conscious again. And that's going to happen about 20 times throughout the day, right? I know for a gunshot victim, I gotta stop that bleeding, otherwise that person's dead. I also had to accept the fact sometimes that where this person may be shot, there's nothing I can do because it's internal injuries. It's up to the ambulance to get there, for this guy to get to the OR to get up to the hospital. Kids, I mean, just the other night, it's 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. There's a young mother holding an infant in her arms with a loudspeaker, alcohol all over the place, smoking a joint with the baby in her hand. This is stuff that I see on a day-to-day basis. And like the last fire I just had on Saturday, the dad of the children started a house on fire. He called the mom saying that he left all 5 kids on the floor. We're getting calls now saying that there's 5 kids trapped on the floor. I'm on the truck. I had to start searching for these kids. And in my mind's going, okay, hey, I'm putting myself ahead of the fire because there's children right now. Yeah, I'm going out in harm's way ahead of a line to search for these children because yeah, where the conditions were crap. I couldn't see 2 feet in front of me. It was hot as hell, but I knew I was still safe because the fire was being contained around me. All right, but I'm still searching for children. And then when you're searching and you're not finding anything that resembles a child, you start thinking to yourself, am I going over? Did I go over? Did I miss them? you know, and it turns out the dad, he did set the house on fire. There's a lot of fire, but he dropped the kids off somewhere else that they weren't in the fire. So there's no kids. But my whole mind was going in circles thinking about getting these kids. So now let's turn to fishing, right? After seeing all that, I have to, in terms of tournament, everything that I just said right there kind of applies the same way in a tournament setting, right? I have to have this rigged a certain way. I got to start looking at these certain depths. I have to start doing X, Y, and Z in order to be successful to pull 5 fish in order to place somewhere within this tournament. And I literally, I burnt myself out. I started burning myself out doing it because now I'm not enjoying what I was doing. I was pretty much doing the same thing at work in a different capacity, and it was starting to become too much. And so now in terms of travel and fishing, I started looking at it now as okay, this is what I'm doing to enjoy myself. This is what I'm doing to decompress. This is what I'm doing to help, guys like you when you're on the water. Hey man, let me get some pictures of you while you're in the tournament, and that way I could help you boost your social media page.
Yeah.
You're finding your niche in here. And now, my travel is to help you guys and to enjoy myself. And I think that competition round for me was doing me more harm than it was good. But that's a little bit of my perspective. What do you have for that? Can you relate, or it does the mindset, from mindset coming from the host? Do you feel the same way? Is it different? What's your thoughts, man?
I mean, it's kind of the same but kind of different, you know. It's tournament fishing for me has been something I've always like been attracted to. If you could say that, where I've always wanted to do it. You know, days leading up to the tournament. I mean, doing the pre-fishing work and the pre-tournament prep and all that. I feel like there's times where that's a lot better than the actual tournament day. You know, pre-fishing, I don't take it too seriously. I rather not catch fish pre-fishing because that eliminates spots for me. And so the mindset going into it is just catch five fish. You know, I mean, obviously it's everyone's mindset, but I don't put too much pressure on catching the biggest fish per se or the length of fish because we're in kayak tournaments. I just want to catch five. I want to catch my limit, and I just want to see where that puts me. I On the water. I just want to feel by the time that tournament's over with, I've made every decision that I wanted to make throughout either that day or that week with the tournament prep and all that included into it. I don't want to be spun out, and I don't really like listening to boat talk or hearing, because that's a big thing. It gets
Yeah.
in your head a ton, where people will sit there and they'll say, "Oh, I was catching them here." I heard it all tournament long. I was catching, in this whole season. I caught him here. I didn't catch him there. And then I go to a spot and I catch him like on. I know I had an instant a couple weeks ago on the home lake. The guy, I just launched the kayak. Just motoring past the guy, and he's like, "They're not here anymore. I haven't caught them all year. I haven't caught one fish all year." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'm gonna catch him." You know, it's just
If
having
I
that.
know who you're talking about, the guy in a regular boat, right?
He's a guy in one of those. I don't know. I don't. I've seen the commercials on it. It looks like a big wheel. One of those. It's a big
Oh,
circle.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen him out there. Yes, I know who you're
Yep.
talking about. Yeah, if you're listening, dude, what's up?
Yeah. 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 But I mean, like I said, I just keep it in my head. Do what I know how to do, and just handle what I need to take care of, and ignore what other people are doing. Even if they end up winning the tournament, at least I did what I planned to do. Win, lose, draw, whatever. I just stick with what I need to do in tournaments, and even when I'm out and fishing.
Yeah. So let's break this down and let's talk about how the benefits to this are. So I'm gonna start off like this. You have a family, right?
Yep. Two
Yeah,
kids and a wife.
two kids, a wife. So your kids are young. Obviously, they made their guest appearance too.
Yep.
One of the
They
two.
typically do.
So you got a wife and kids, right? So now let's run this through. let's say I don't think I don't know if you're fishing Ohio. I'm just using it because it's down there. But let's say Ohio's coming up, right? So two part to this question. When you know you're going to travel to an area to wherever to go fish a tournament, what is your first thought? Is it necessarily what can I do to win, or what can I do to have fun?
Well, I always want to win. My first thought is what I can do to win, and when I just go there and say I need to catch five, I'm obviously in pre-fishing looking for the biggest fish. But if I feel after a couple of days of pre-fishing, like normally it's 1 or 2 days of pre-fishing before the tournament, if I get there and I'm just not finding them, then my goal is to get out of there, get Angler of the Year points, and move on to the next one. Yeah,
Okay,
but
so then you break down fishing. Now, do you break down when you're off the water where you want to go and what do you want to do exclusive to that area, or do you have something different?
so my tournament prep is all Google Maps.
Okay.
I do a ton of Google Map searches, and I'll first try to find areas in which I will feel comfortable fishing the techniques that I know. And then I will start looking up articles or guide reports or stuff like that to, finding out what they're doing around that time of year to catch these bigger size fish. Obviously, guides need to catch the biggest fish in the lake. That's how they get paid, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's majority of mine. But I mean, to say it's like it's not bothersome to me. I actually, that's part of the process, and that's something that I actually really enjoy is breaking down water, because then once you get to that lake and everything that you studied, you catch those fish. Now everything's put together, and it makes for an even greater fishing day knowing you put the work in.
So it's paying off for you.
Exactly.
Okay. So now let's say you have all that put together, and now it's time to, let's say, for instance, we were camping together, right? We are at the same campground for a little while. You were hanging out with us. But for you, what do you do off the water to occupy and keep you sane? Is there a routine? Is there a method? Can you do something uh or that's either the same or different from others to help you mentally prepare for that next day, whether it's tournament day or pre-fishing? Like, for example, can you go out that on one of those evenings and enjoy yourself that evening, or do you have to be straight line and arrow in order to stay focused?
You mean like can I go out like to eat and stuff, or like do I have to have a certain routine come
Yeah,
after right before the tournament?
yeah, both of those.
Um, Honestly, no. I just the only routine I say I would have is making sure I get a good enough sleep, and then also making sure tackle's done. Well, not really tackle, but rods are done. My whole goal is to have, it's gonna sound silly coming from tournament perspective, have 1 to 2 rods that I know are gonna work. If I had the less stuff I have that I'm using to come tournament day, the more confident I feel, and the better I feel going into that tournament.
Okay. So now tournament is tournament's over, win or lose. What are you doing next?
I'm forgetting about the tournament. I don't think about it, man.
So
I give myself that, like, say if we're if we're like this next one's, I think, a 4.5 hour drive. I'll give myself that 4.5 hours to think about it, and then I'm on to the next tournament or to the next whatever I'm gonna do. You know,
Okay.
I don't want to dwell on it, and even if I win, I don't want to stay on that high level because it's fishing, and winning comes few and far between. And
All right. And then so now you come home, right? How do you feel when you come home to your wife and kids after being out there and
uh,
doing everything you've done?
oh, it's great. That's the
Okay.
first thing. It's the first thing I look forward to. That's
Awesome.
kind of the great thing about it, man. I feel like even when people do like regular traveling or like people who travel for businesses, do the business trips, the first thing they want to do is be home. And it's the same
Cool.
thing. It's the same thing here. You know.
So do you feel that your mental health is exercised to the fullest extent while you're traveling for tournaments? And then when you come home, do you feel like you're reset and you're ready to get back to life the way you were?
Yeah. I mean, and obviously those 3 days of the tournament, you do get a little stressed out sometimes. You do get a little.
Sure.
I feel I'm more burnt out because I'm getting less sleep. Versus being in a comfortable bed, not really having to stress about anything. As a tournament angler, you stay up and you're always trying to look up the next spot or something. I know there's been a couple times where practice didn't work out, and I'm on my phone looking up maps for a place to go to that I just feel familiar with.
All
But
right.
yeah, once I leave that tournament, all the stress is off, and I'm kind of just completely done with the tournament.
Cool, man. And that's how I was in your shoes there. Now, and I think that's the point to drive home is whether you're traveling for fun, whether you're traveling to fish a tournament, or even if you're traveling to reset. Travel has a lot of benefits, both for your mental health and for your overall being. And it doesn't, when we say travel, it doesn't mean you have to go, to it. A lot of people, when you say travel or vacation, they think of turquoise seas and white sand and the beach and all that. And no, that's some people's, that's what they want. That awesome. But for everyone who travels, it's a whole different perspective. For you, it's about finding that next fish, right? And getting that W. And if you don't get that W, those ARY points. That's what you live for. For me,
Yeah.
I'm all about I'm all about experience. I'm all about the experience. Now that I kind of removed myself from the tournament setting and I'm doing more of the help and being in the background and doing stuff. Um, I have more of a focus on enjoying watching you guys get out there. I could fish, but there's no pressure on me anymore. I could fish to catch. And then in the area I'm in, I love breaking down that area. So like when we were at Lake Schaefer together, dude, it was cool because I found some there were like what do you call those? They're not like tourist trap stores, but they're like stores that have local products to that area, right? And then it's a small town. Where we were staying wasn't too big, but for other instance, let's say like the other day, last week, we had a fire department outing, uh, and I was on Lake Geneva. Lake Geneva is there's so much to do on Lake Geneva, from being on the water to being downtown Lake Geneva, and taking everything in, and knowing what's in that town and getting to experience it for itself. That's what I love, man. There's and I found, I have another sport that I take up aside from kayak fishing, and that's golf. I also golf too. So having a balance between both, it makes you chase that, um, it makes you chase that thrill of going somewhere new and whether it's playing a new golf course or fishing new water, exploring a new restaurant, trying something new that's local to that area. For me, that's how I get, and when I come back home to this like abyss that we live in, I try not to look at it that way, but like I said, every third day, the 2/3 of the other day are great. My wife is awesome. We do so much together, but on that third day where you're in the worst of the worst, you start truly appreciating going on these trips to bring yourself back to being centered again. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people miss the point, especially in tournament settings. A lot of guys are hammer down, hammer down, hammer down, next stop, next stop, next stop. But sometime in between, man, you have to take a moment to take a breath and take in where you're at and what's going on.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, yeah, definitely, I agree 100% on that one. Our little campsites and stuff definitely help with that. I mean, I know you weren't there in the Michigan one, but we had a nice cookout there, and that was nice.
yeah,
Once tackle's done, and you could just sit there and relax and kind of enjoy. We were right by the lake. Just sit there and enjoy each other's company. That's one of the big parts of kayak fishing. And
yep.
that's what you hear all the time from even the top guys. You're always seeing them at the campsites more than you're seeing them fishing.
hmm And that's a whole. And I want to say for those who are listening right now, who are getting into this, who are getting to tournament aspect of kayak fishing, do yourself a favor. Don't be a stranger, right? Yes, be humble. You're new, but don't be don't be a stranger, because the benefits that come from the camaraderie of this community really out. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing you're going to find about us, is that we come from all backgrounds of life to this one event here. And the just like you said, the memories that you make around the campfire,
Hmm.
or if it's going out to dinner as a group together, um or just kind of hanging out after the tournament with everybody. You start making friends from all over the country, and you start realizing that the person who's in first place is comes from is the same person. Not necessarily the same person, but you two are both human beings. He's not a demigod. These the people who are in first place aren't demigods like some people get made out to be. They're normal human beings just like me and you know and also too, to that fact, if you are in the top 3 or top 5, take that, and you're consistent, take that too. You're not a demigod, you're also a person. Interact with people. We all love and we all make fun of Ricky Bobby. We love Talladega Nights. you know if you ain't first, you're last, right? But here's the thing, it gets lonely at the top if you want to have that mentality.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing I noticed being a part of the whole crew and everything this year, the very first tournament I was at, you guys knew nothing about me, and you didn't really know who I was, and yet you guys were inviting. We all went to dinner together, and then we had that campfire, towards
Yep.
the end of the night. And it didn't matter who's what or where you come from or anything. I mean, even in the top guys in the kayak industry are still approachable. You
Yes.
know,
And a lot of those guys are returning guests on Paddle and Fin. you know
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you know and those guys are pretty awesome. So um but yeah, I mean, I think the message is clear, man. Travel more, get your mind right, and you start seeing the benefits, man. there's a lot to do, and there's different ways to do it. We do it in the
Oh,
way
yeah.
of going to water, but I mean, hell, I also like just going on random road trips I actually, Jeff Hetman, me and him he works for the national parks, and national parks have a huge spot in my heart. And when I'm in the national park, man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
National parks are great, but
Yeah. And
I feel closest. But you know what? Regardless if it's a national park or tomorrow morning when I'm on that lakefront, I feel closest to the universe and closest to God when I'm on the water, man, and that's where I get my
oh, yeah.
reset button. So
Absolutely. Same way. I get hyped for any type of fishing trip. Even when I'm in a tournament setting, I'm still happy being on the water, and it's more about being on the water than it is, competing. I don't take it too serious. I mean, I do take it seriously to a point where I want to win, but at the end of the day, the main goal is to go out there and have fun and do what you love. You know.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, it, if you find yourself I'll say it again, if you find yourself that this is becoming just like work, reevaluate what you're doing, make the
Oh
changes
yeah.
to make it enjoyable for you. There's always, and especially if you still want to be within the scene of the tournaments and all that. There's always something for everybody here. I mean, you know, you just got to find your niche. Look at Scott
Yeah.
Butcher. Scott was, he does tournaments, but his biggest thing is coverage of stuff on the water. You know, Look at us. We run podcasts, that cover different aspects of everything. Not all of us are tournament guys, but we have our niche, right?
Yeah. I mean, majority of us aren't tournament guys.
Right.
So
So
and this is my first year doing a total, trail series. I've done tournaments in the past, but this is the one kind of year where I went deep into it. But I mean, it's been great, man.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your standings right now. So you're second in AOI, right?
Yeah.
So with you being in the AOI race, with championship being on September 11th, um, how well do you have to do in Ohio to get that jump?
I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really looked at who's signed up or anything. But even if I don't get the jump to win AOI, I will. It's still a successful season for me. To come into this and to be in the top 5 of AOY at the end of the year, I mean, that would be amazing. I know I already qualified for the championship in that first tournament.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I'm sitting comfortably. Obviously, do I want to win AOI? Yes. Will I be super upset if I don't? No, I won't be. I see it as a successful season, and I'm honestly looking forward to, these last 2 tournaments and then the upcoming next year.
cool, man. Cool, cool. Well, I'm gonna actually give you the floor,
Okay.
and I want you to, as the host of Mindset, I want you, if there's any advice you want to give listeners right now, the floor
Uh,
is yours.
yeah, I mean, as far as, I'm always coming from a mindset perspective. The one thing I would say is I always love what you're doing. Like you keep saying, if it gets too stressful, maybe give it a week break and then come back. Maybe give it a month break and come back. Don't make this a business. Make this, your lifestyle. So many people are getting into this thinking they're gonna get money from it consistently and right away, and they're just gonna be this millionaire because that's what they see on social media. You know, you gotta love it first. I did it for I did it
Hook,
for
line, and sinker, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I did it for 7 years without even promoting anything or doing anything, just learning it and just loving it before I even thought about doing anything podcast or anything like that. Then yeah, I would say love what you do, man, and always be positive about it. And if someone either, because I've had this happen a couple of times this year, through all different types of platforms, whether someone does something to you, or someone says something, or you don't like a way some certain. I mean, I wouldn't go back and like what's the word I'm looking for? Bash them or anything. Just keep moving on what you're doing. You know.
It's it's kind of like yesterday. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up yet. I'm gonna pull it up right now. There's a post I posted on my personal Facebook,
Yeah.
and it's exactly what you're saying. Hang on one second. Let me go to my actual page, and the quote is as followed. So it's a picture of a mountain goat about to jump over a pretty much a canyon, and it's the biggest takeaway is this: um, and this is a proverb, let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. So
Yeah.
always, if you start backtracking, you're going to wind up going down. If you keep your eyes
Yep.
forward and you keep moving ahead, you are going to get where you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I totally agree with that, man. I always say, take it one day at a time, man.
Mhm.
And forget about tomorrow and look forward to the next day. I mean, forget about the last day and look forward to tomorrow. Is what I
Right?
meant to
Yeah,
say.
man.
you know, and
Hey, there's
if you have a dream, never give up on it, man.
yep.
It's possible.
There, there's only two things we're guaranteed here in the United States of America: taxes and death, and
Oh
they
yeah,
both come at the worst time.
yep, that's for sure. That is for sure, man.
So real quick, just giving some shout outs to the sponsors again: Waypoint TV, Yak Gadget, 153 Bait, Pelican, and Rocktown. Um, you know, Rocktown. I was just there today, and I had to give a huge shout out to Travis and Kevin. Man, you guys are awesome. I needed some equipment, and they right away pulled through. Hey, we have it. Come pick it up. It was ready to go. So tomorrow I will have a brand new paddle because my paddle that I've been paddling with for almost 5 years finally went bloop. So I was going up Shit's Creek, but now I have a paddle.
Yeah, yeah, man. Luckily I haven't been there yet, but I know the day's coming probably.
And speaking of Rocktown, we're going to move on to our next segment of what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? It is one sip. Everybody knows the rule. And now I'm showing you guys this cool little product that I got. This is the Yeti can cooler. So just like the
Nice.
cooler for for the cans, this is for the individual can itself. Now it's probably about 85, 87 degrees in the room right now. So this is supposedly keeping the beer uh, really cold on the inside. So as I pull it out, it's sweating on top where it's exposed, but it is nice and cold, and it has retained what it was doing. So another Yeti product living up to its name. So this is really cool. But what we're trying today is everybody knows this company. This is Blue Moon. This is not the Belgium White. This is now the Honey Days. This is drafted, or it's crafted with real clove honey inside of there. It's a low alcohol content. It's only at 3.9 alcohol. Yeah, 3.9 ABV. So very light in alcohol. It's a wheat style beer. So one sip, I'll tell you my impression of it. Cheers. And again, this segment is brought to you by Rocktown Adventures. All right. Let the head die down a little bit. Cheers to Rocktown.
Cheers.
All right. First impressions. Excuse me. It is very weedy, which isn't bad. It's actually really refreshing right now because it's hot up in here. And the honey comes on the back end. I like the overall taste of it. It's very drinkable in this weather. Would I drink it every day or every time I go to for a beer? Not necessarily, but it's not bad. I'm gonna give this guy a 3.5 star out of 5. So, Blue Moon Honey Days, check it out. I got it at Jewel. It was in the beer section. I'm sure I've seen them all over the place, and I've been meaning to try it. So, Honey Days from Blue Moon. There you go. One sip. Everybody knows the rules. Bam. You got any beer you want to give a taste to?
Nah, man. No, I don't have
good.
anything yet.
All good, man. All good. You know, that's one part of the show we always do here.
Oh, you're fine.
So, but right now, Chris, I'm going to give you the floor. You could give this is your time to give shout outs to any sponsors, important people in your life, anybody who you think is worthy of being called out on.
Yeah, well, first is the wife for dealing with these crazy kids while I'm out of town all the time and out fishing. And then I have to give a shout out to Outdoorsman Coffee. You know, they picked me up as a sponsor without even really knowing who I was at the time. And then obviously Great Lake Baits, which is a bait company out of Illinois, hand poured for smallmouth fishing. I use their tubes a ton. Trying to think of the other one. Yeah, I mean, that's probably about it. I have a couple other things that I work, a couple other companies that I work with, but not necessarily sponsored by. So, and then Rocktown, obviously. You know, I'm not sponsored by them, but they're a great company to be a part of. You know, as far as the Paddle and Fin family, being a part of them, and that's where I got all my kayaks from. So.
Nice. Travis,
Yeah.
he really appreciates you going above and beyond to get him his bonafide.
Oh, yeah. It was the last one, man.
Yep.
It was the last one, and I was lucky enough to get it, and they worked with me on the pricing and everything. So,
awesome, dude. Well, I will say this. This was a first for the podcast. First time actually breaking the cycle of the format I normally do it. I am very pleased with how this went today, and I want to give you all thanks for coming on, for putting your perspective in, for sometimes hearing hard truths. And when we talk about mindset, it's not all just sunshine and rainbows. It's it's about what the hard stuff equals out to be for the best for us of who we are.
yeah. It's overcoming that, for sure. I've definitely nothing has came easy this year, but in the end, I appreciate all of it. And I'm still sitting here, happy.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Off the Water. And Chris, thank you for being a guest. I hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Until the next time we all meet, I will see you guys off the water. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_n_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_n_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com